I can't do. I can't. First of all, I can't believe I'm sitting in a room with a guy who's a droid. By the way, I want to start off there, right?
I mean,
And then you have
we're
a
just
Samsung
we're just
watch.
going. I mean, but I
We're
have a
gonna start,
Samsung
right?
watch and Samsung phone. All my TVs in my house are Samsung televisions.
I like Samsung televisions.
Right?
I do like Samsung televisions.
I live in a Google Home environment.
Do you?
Yeah.
Damn. See, we're opposite. We're opposite.
I have 7 Google Homes in my house.
Okay.
We have Google in the office. Like everything lives in Nest thermostats. Everything lives in that environment.
I'm a Nest guy too, but
Samsung smart things in the house.
Right.
To control that. Plus a Philips Hue bridge in there. I mean, you know.
No offense to James too with his Alienware, but I'm a big Mac guy through and through. And then
I started there, but for what I do, I feel like, you know, to be able to stream, record, and do whatever all at once,
right,
the supercomputer is the way to go.
Yeah.
I'm a Mac guy, but I'm an iPhone guy. Aaron's crazy with his Google.
Yeah, I'm an Alexa guy too. I'm just gonna say so. Alexa for me, I have literally no joke. My entire house is a smart home. It sounds like yours is too.
Yep.
Like lights and shit, like all that stuff. Yeah. So like I can't operate without that shit anymore.
No, it's great. I've got smart doors. I just have to get my garage hooked up to an app. That's the only thing that's not connected is a garage. I had the police show up to my house one morning because I forgot to close the garage.
Right.
If it was on the app,
right,
I would have been reminded that I left the garage door open.
Wow. See, the one thing I did very quickly, so when I got my Tesla, because Tesla's insane with tech, so that does that for me. So when I'm approaching 70 feet of my garage, it opens, and the second I'm in for a certain amount of period, it closes it, no matter what. So I can't forget that.
Oh,
and it does all that shit for me. Now, my wife doesn't believe in electric cars yet, right? So she's like, she thinks I'm an idiot.
Well, according to our governor, by 2035, we're all going to be driving electric cars.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
We'll see.
Sure.
But dude, the one thing I want to talk about though is so with business and being a business owner, right? So like I had an iWatch, right, with things buzzing off, and one of the things that with my executive coach, before 2019, I was like probably the busiest I've ever been in terms of myself.
Right.
Because I was stuck in the business. I wasn't an operator or just an owner at that point. I was like self-employed.
Right.
So I was in every meeting. I was doing all those things, going to every sales meeting and shit. So fast forward, I had this iWatch, and you know I'm sitting there, and I had all of this insane anxiety because I had so many shit going on at once, right? And I remember my executive coach was like, "Dude, why? Like, what is the purpose of the iWatch?" And I was like, honestly, I like being able to track, you know, health movement stuff, whatever, biometrics.
Right.
And, you know, and also if I get like a note, like right now, if I had that on, I'd be like, okay, boo, 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 like, okay, cool. Like,
except for the fact that you're a new dad and the only one that's allowed to call you right now would be your wife.
Right. Facts.
So.
Right. Which is why that thing doesn't leave me. But the only thing I want to say out there for any other entrepreneurs that are listening into this is that, so I actually, one of the best things I ever did was I still have an iWatch and I'll use it when I work out. Right. But I stopped utilizing that stuff because it really, like, censorship is a really big issue, especially in the entrepreneurship space. Because especially something like us, like even if you're not in tech like I am, right, it's like everybody's on their phones, like no matter what. We're all obsessed with social media, whatever. And so censorship and like burnout or whatever else, like when you think about all these different things, especially for business owners, it's like we can't unplug all the time, or, you know, you're stuck in the day-to-day, especially wherever people are in their journey listening in. But one of the things that, like, removing that out and, like, having, now that I'm a father, you know, I did this years ago, but, like, now that I'm a father especially, like, I'm a better leader and I'm a better entrepreneur when I have that time away from my phone.
That's awesome.
Or watch.
Right.
So.
I mean, I'm guilty. I'm a 3 a.m., 4 a.m. email kind of person.
Yeah.
Too many messages go out at the wrong time, you know, that people think they should respond to, and they certainly don't need to. It's just when the idea comes to me, if I don't get it out, then it's lost, or if we need to get something done, because I'd rather just be available to do cool stuff like this during the day, right, as opposed to handling, you know, other service related matters. And, you know, I have a smaller team than you. My team is 13. Yep. You said your team is 60 now. Yep. That's incredible. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So thank you. You know, you're in a different position than I am. And as I continue to grow, if I choose to continue to grow, but there's also something to be said about staying small.
Dude,
right.
And
like,
I've learned that,
you know, like having a small team, you can make just as much money having a small, efficient team as you can being larger. Right. Unless your end goal is to create something to sell, then scalability is a little bit different depending on what you want to do and how you want to operate it. And I hem and haw on both sides of the coin. I'm like, I could shrink right now and make more money with 4 awesome people and really have no ties to my phone or to worry about anything, or I can try to continue to push. And I like to continue to push. That's why we're here creating content.
For sure.
You know, and just continuing to hit that smallest viable audience, right? I said, as I was on your show, right? Your show, you have your business is Adapting Social, right? You have a podcast called Breaking Barriers Podcast.
Yep.
And so I had an awesome time shooting with you, and that's why I couldn't wait to get you
I'm
scheduled to come into the studio in Red Bank at Rect Productions to have a chat with us about what you do and how it's impactful for other business owners. And you know, so my next guest this afternoon, who's coming in after you, is a business coach, right? So you're taking this business coaching conversation to one level, and then I'm going to have another conversation about it, shortly. So it's going to be cool. We'll make sure we stagger these appropriately for when they get released. But it's super important. Like, you have so many business lessons to share because you've experienced so much,
right?
And now being a dad, that changes, like the switch flips.
Yeah,
big time.
I'd like to just correct that. I'm now a DILF.
I mean, you know.
So for people out there who are watching this, if you don't know what that means, just Google it.
You know, so I was called. We were in Vermont, and you know, so I have 2 daughters.
Yep.
And
how old?
My girls are 7 and 4, almost 8 and 5.
Oh wow.
And we were sitting at this brewery, and there was another 2 families, and they all had daughters, and they're like, "Hey, you're a dodo." I'm like, "What's a dodo?" They're like, "Dads of daughters only." You know, and then like,
daughters. Oh, okay. Got it.
Like, yeah, that's it. I'm never going to have a son. Like, I don't want to. I'm not trying for a third. Like, I'm good. If I tried for the third, it'd definitely be a girl. Like, no doubt about it. Like, you know, so I only associate with people that have lots of daughters.
Right.
And then he went into his pitch. He's like, I thought this was so cool. Somebody called me a dodo once. I looked into it. And I created this whole website. We have merch. Go check it out. Like,
so this dude's like all in.
Like, he's like, yes.
He's like,
wow. I've got a target. I'm gonna hit him, and he's gonna go spend money on my website. I haven't spent a dime yet, but I will. At some point, I'm gonna get there, and I'm gonna buy silly shirts for myself.
I love it.
Being a dodo.
Yeah, I love that.
Once upon a time, I might have been a DILF, but you know, I'm well beyond that.
You're still in it. You're still in it.
Thank you,
dude. You have to. I think there's a level of confidence in the DILF life. I just embarked on it, right? Come on, get out of here. Jason's definitely still a DILF for sure.
You know, absolutely. You know, and my wife's Peloton handle was like, after we had our first kid and got our first Peloton, was MILF in training, right? So,
let's go.
You know,
I love that.
On getting all that stuff
done. I love that.
So you got to take it for whatever level you want to take it, and it works. So tell me about what the hell is Adapting Social?
Yeah. So Adapting Social is like a full service. I'm gonna call we're a marketing, design, and media agency.
Nobody knows what that means.
Right. So I'm gonna dive deeper, but our approach to it is we focus on building our clients' revenue and building their brand equity in their marketplace. Okay. So people come to us and they're like, hey, I'm plateauing and I want to scale my business. So we work, one of our oldest businesses, meaning like been around the longest, has been in business since like the early 1900s.
I mean, you started when you were 12 also, by the way.
Right? Like 17, but same thing.
Close enough.
Yeah, 17. And I'll work back to that. But essentially, very long story short, you know, our focus point, you know, through our digital efforts, our media, and whatever we're doing is all about revenue, right? And brand equity, right? So with our clients, you know, we want to make sure that we build a pipeline of leads to come in for them. Okay. And then we're automating that too, right? So like, I'll give you an example, right? So we do work with obviously insurance agencies. So one of these guys, I probably been working for like 7 years now. When I worked with him, he's from Georgia. Been working with this guy, it's Todd, probably, like I said, 7 years plus. He was doing roughly, I want to say maybe like $300,000-$400K a year. Okay. Top line gross. And he was like, dude, I just want to get to like $1 million. I got to crack $1 million. I'm like, all right, well, what does that mean in terms of like, because for us, we have to digest like how many clients we need to get you to get there. So we're working this through whatever. Fast forward, now at this point, we do probably, he's netting probably close to like $3-4 million a year now. Cool. And so what we do there, and we're like, he's like, dude, like when he's like, I'm gonna name my next kid after you, right? He's like, because the thing though is we get in and we understand that. So, and how we do that is through managing their website, building out websites. And the one thing I want to say, I'm probably going to rant for a quick second, but with websites, a lot of times people build websites and they think like, well, it has to be informational and it has to be pretty, right? And sexy and professional. But nobody thinks about it as a fucking bear trap, right?
Okay.
And when we're building out websites, if somebody's looking for insurance as an example,
Right.
and they land on your website, the user experience and psychology behind it has to literally clamp them in.
Right.
Where they're like, I
Okay.
have to work with Jason, right? So anyway, we're managing their website, we're managing their social, we're managing all their marketing efforts, all of their billboard efforts. We're doing, in some cases, and their media commercials, media buying for billboards, whatever else. But we're providing them end-to-end, management of their complete like propaganda to market out.
Okay.
And drive business back in.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Now I'm like, is my website good enough?
Yeah. And then working backwards. So how I started adapting social, I didn't go to college, right? And I think one of the things that I really like to focus when I'm on other podcasts about people who are listening in, whether they're a business owner already successfully or trying to become more of a successful business owner, is that again, I was 17, oldest of 5 kids. My dad came to me and was like, dude, essentially we're going to lose the house. And I was like, well, what the fuck can I do? And he's like, pretty much nothing. And I was like, okay. So I just started Googling shit on my Dell laptop. And if James listening, it's the only time I'll ever use PC. But literally on my Dell laptop, I'm sitting there 17 in high school and I found Website Freelancer, right? Okay. I'm like, what can I do to make like 50 to 60K so I can help him? I don't know. I just thought of a number in my head. Like, right. And anyway, I'm Googling find website freelancer. I started teaching myself code. I started learning Python. And then I was like, okay, this is really complex. Then I started building, WordPress websites and then Wix websites. And then my first spin-off was I actually went, Groupon.
Okay.
So at the time, there was this thing called Living Social. Groupon took over. It was like Blockbuster, Living Social. And long story short, what they were doing, obviously everyone knows the concept, but I saw the harm that it did to small businesses. Okay. And so, if you were, again, I had a real experience where there was a limousine service where they would take you from wherever you were to either Newark Airport or Atlantic City Airport for $100, right? In a limo. Because it was on this website. And long story short, they split it where, it's 50% off, right? So normally he would charge $250, $350, whatever. Right. Now he's $100. And him and Groupon or Living Social at the time split that $50. Right. And now he has to pay a driver, has to pay gas. By the time he's done, he has no money. Right. He's losing money.
Right. And so nobody's using him again.
Correct. Right. But that's their whole ideology is that they're going to bring people in. Right. And, you're going to give them a real big, deep discount and they're going to come back. But they don't. So I was like, I'm going to make this thing called bricktowndeals.com. So I put my website skills to the test. Okay. Bricktown Deals. And I said, I went to all these businesses, door knocked, and it was like, I'm going to put you on my website. And instead of doing what Living Social is doing, I'm going to literally just do $15 a month. So I'm not taking any vig from what you make. Right. So long story short, it took me about 3 months. And I had 4 buddies of mine that were with me in this in the beginning, right? That are now kicking themselves in the fucking ass. But they all wound up leaving on me. It was the middle of the winter time. I'm door knocking for 3 months. And after 3 months, I got 1 yes. And the guy's still my client today. So I go, audio electronic company, I knock, and I'm just so used to everyone saying no or kicking me out. And this dude's like, I'll give it a shot. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God, I could have cried. And literally he's like, but I have another question though. He's like, can you build me a website? Because my website's down and I need help. And I'm like, dude, and I was like a young kid. I'm like, I don't even know what I would charge you. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to charge you. It was like, he goes, the last guy charged me $1,000. He's like, if you could do it for cheaper than that, I'll give you the job. And I'm like, would you do $850? And he's like, yeah. And remember, I'm 17, like fucking no money. And fast forward, I wound up, helping my parents get out of foreclosure status.
That's awesome.
And then from that point, it was really just like, okay, wow, I get to meet people like you and entrepreneurs who are grinding their asses off, answering emails at 3 a.m., doing what they do. And I fell in love with that component. Right. And then that's what kept me going.
It's so funny, so whenever you were 17, whatever year that was, you had to have a website, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like, I'm cool now. I have a website, right?
And I had to convince people back then.
We're going back 20 plus years on website building when it was like, and then you had to buy domains, and then domains were expensive. Now nobody cares what your domain is because we're just going to Google to look it up because I don't remember anybody's domain. Right. And I get this email like once a week for ShrewsburyInsurance.com is for sale. I'm like, I have no interest in ShrewsburyInsurance.com. Yeah. I'm like, and once a week I get an email from this broker trying to sell me this. I'm like, I'll give you $50. Right. There's one domain that I do want. I started another business and I named it kind of after my kids. So I wanted the .com version of that. And, it's in a brokerage house They want like $5,000 for it. I'm like, I'll give you $1,000 because it's nostalgic to me.
Right.
But I'm not giving you $5,000.
Yeah, 5Gs, you're nuts.
In like a year, I'll offer you $1,000 again.
And they just
you're just
going
to sit on it.
Yeah, they just sit on
Some of them they're just sitting on them. They don't cost them anything. They're just sitting there to be maintained.
Right.
And it's kind of silly. And I think I own like 100 different domain names for different things. I got into buying .ninjas because I thought .ninjas are cool. Like I own EPLI.ninja, Cyber.ninja. Like I own some pretty fun .ninjas. And then the website that I have set up for, my side gig is a .fun. So my kids have email addresses that are their names.
Oh, I love it.
With .fun.
Right.
Like I'm like, some cool stuff. Like there's some different extensions out there that you can create whatever you want.
Right.
And get the same result, but then you can really shorten the web name if you want to put it out there. And now that QR codes are back, you don't even need that anymore. You're just going back to QR codes because everybody's ready to use them again.
Totally.
COVID saved the QR code.
COVID saved. You're so right. COVID did save the QR code.
Right.
But I do want to mention though. So one of the things though, like, and for people listening in, because you had mentioned that you want to talk about people who might want to start an agency or an agency or whatever. It's like one of the things that I always tell people is that, like, I feel so blessed that everything that happened to me happened at, the time it did. Like my parents had financial issues, my dad had his own issues. Right. And, in those moments it sucked. And I was like, I'm not understanding why life was throwing me all these fucking, issues. But that led me to obviously start my business. Right. And at the time when I was door knocking, telling people whatever, after he was like, I want you to do my site. Then I was like, all right, I'm going to go literally try to go get as many of these as I can now. Cause it's fucking $850, $1,000. And that's what wound up, helping me with my family.
You needed a homepage and one link on it, right? A contact us page and a homepage.
Right.
That's all you needed.
That's all you needed. But I was having to convince people that they needed a website still then.
Right.
Because then it was like, I don't need a website. Like when I was going to attorneys or restaurants, all this other shit, they're like, people have my menus. They don't need a website. And it was at a time where businesses were not on social media. Right. We're talking like late MySpace days, early Facebook days. Like, so I was in, I don't know if this is true, but for damn sure in New Jersey, I was one of the first people that had clients in an abundance on Facebook before there was a Facebook business page.
That's awesome.
And so early, and I think that's one of the things that going back to like what's adapting social, like we've been in from the beginning, right? Which is a blessing, right? Because we've seen the waves of now, like again, now like business. Oh, okay, Facebook's gonna do business pages, great, right? Now you can start advertising on Facebook. It's like holy shit, this is even better, right? And Google when Google Ads was Google AdWords back then, AdWords, mid 2000s, whatever, literally, right? Like I'll never forget, I got my business. And the one thing I didn't mention is we're in over 20 countries. And so when I started to expand throughout the Americas, I literally found myself in a position where I was maybe costing me like a couple of dollars, maybe cents to get lead conversion. And it was so cheap. The competition was not as big. Right. Now we live in a world where like if I'm, again, and right now I probably spend close to like $70,000 a month in ad spend for adapting social. And like it's like $100 a click for some things. Like, and I remember again, early Google Ads or AdWords, I was paying pennies in some cases and getting an $850 or $1,000 website. Right. So you find yourself in a position where you're just literally like the amount of ROI that I was able to build back then has still like, it almost like supported me throughout COVID. Right. And one of the things that I just want to say for business owners listening into that point is that, so Nintendo, I've always been super inspired by Nintendo. Okay. Because they have a cash reserve of over like 500 million and literally just sitting there. Right. And Apple has a crazy one too. But long story short, we found ourselves in a position where like those times were able to set me up for even now. Right? Okay. So just, again, I had no employees. I was just making money.
That's awesome. So it's, I mean, listen, it's all about the grind, right? Everybody listening has been somewhere in the grind at some point. Business owners are still hesitant when it comes to hiring, a proper media company to support them, just like they were hesitant to have a website built, and a lot of them still have no clue what they're talking about and what they're doing, right? So my goal right now, what is the one most important thing for a small business owner to do, right? And I know it's not Instagram, it's not Facebook. My opinion is have a proper Google business profile, but what's your opinion for that one thing that a business owner should have set up properly and should be spending a little bit of time working on a consistent and regular basis?
Search, right? Search marketing, right? again, it depends on the industry. Like I wouldn't say search for e-commerce,
Right.
Right. If you're selling e-com online, if you're selling a product, but if everybody else almost like if you're an attorney, if you're insurance or whatever, anything that mainly your customers are Googling, which is everything besides pretty much e-com, I would say search. And this is the thing, right? So like we've seen over the past, 15 plus years that we've been in business, right? Every year we do data deep dives. So in the 20 countries that we're in, we look at analytics for multiple countries, multiple consumer trends.
Right.
Like I know like intimately, right? Like I know intimately almost every, because I'm in every vertical.
Right.
So I know intimately what their customer avatars are doing, what their trends are, what they like, what they don't like. So when we're marketing and we're doing these things, what we see that search is where people come to validate credibility on Google reviews, is they're doing their due diligence. And also because we have a very educated consumer now, right? They know Google well, they know internet well. They go to major search engines like Google to go look at your competition. All right, well, if you gave me a quote, I'm going to go here and go look at this guy's quote. Right. And so, but the search, so this is the difference. This is the important part, right? So if you take anything away from today, besides me being a DILF, this is what I want you to take away, right? Is search is where a hot buyer is interested in a service or product.
Okay.
I'm actively looking for it.
Right.
Now, if I see your ads on Facebook or Meta, anywhere on Meta or social platforms, right? And I'm on LinkedIn and boom, I see, an ad for LG, right? I might not be looking for insurance right now.
Right.
So, but you spent money so I can see it. So it's branding, right? So you're spending branding efforts.
Sure.
Whereas if I'm on search and I'm saying, boom, insurance company, or boom, I'm looking for, a pizza place. I'm a hot buyer, right? I'm looking for X.
Sure.
So in the consumer journey, there's stark differences. So for me, I'm an aggressive marketer. I like to get leads in fast. A lot of times people are like, oh, well, do the whole consumer journey thing at the top of the funnel where it takes 18 touches, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let's focus on the person who's looking fucking today, right? And that's search.
I love it.
That's search. So I would say search. So SEO and obviously Google Ads, whatever else, Bing, that's the sandbox you should be playing in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a sandbox I like to play in. I'm in the long tail game.
Yep.
So I like the branding piece of the game, but I do like, what
we
you're
should
talking
do both,
about.
But I'm saying if you need to focus on one.
Right. And that's something that we're going to have another conversation offline about and really dive into more aggressive tactics to make more money today, right? Because that's not something that we actively do.
Yeah.
We're branding, we're building, right? We're information, education, and entertainment. Right. That's what we do. That's what I do.
That's what you should be doing.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's super important for a business owner as well, playing the long tail game,
For sure.
in addition to playing the aggressive search game.
Yeah,
right? I think that's an awesome combination to put together.
I agree.
And the long tail game is not, I'm going to go do 2 podcasts and then quit because it's too hard and I got lazy.
Right.
It's keep going, keep putting out content, and you're going to find those people that are going to follow you along the journey.
Right.
And then you're going to get the opportunity to be on more shows. You're going to create more opportunities. You're going to become a better speaker.
Yep.
And you're going to carry yourself better as a professional.
Right.
Most days I'm in a t-shirt or a hoodie or a sweatshirt, and when we're on camera, I like to
gotta be all
dress a
sexy,
little bit appropriate.
Yep. Gotta get ready.
Feel fresh. I just shaved, cleaned myself up a little bit. Got to work out in this morning. All the things. But it's playing the different games is super important because I love the branding and I love the social piece of it and some of the content we've been doing and getting more creative content out there because insurance is boring. Insurance is, I need it. Somebody told me I have to have it.
Right.
Right. And then it's my job to say, hey, somebody asked me the other day, he goes, Aaron, what differentiates you from this Geico quote that I got?
Right.
I'm like, you're talking to him.
Right.
I'm like, what are you going to do tomorrow? You want to call an 800 number and hope you get somebody that speaks pretty good English?
Right.
Or do you want to text me and call my office and speak to my team, who's going to be the same team that's going to handle you on a regular basis? And by the way, we can offer, similar coverage, same coverage, better companies, and obviously handle you better, right? So we're the differentiator, right? And it's not just me, it's my whole team.
Yep.
That's the differentiator. And that's what we live by. And that's how I started the business is, hey, you get Aaron.
Right.
Right. Now you get Aaron's team because I tell everybody that my team is much smarter than I am now.
Right.
Like, don't talk to me. Like, you're going to get annoyed because I'm going to be doing something else.
Right.
And it's going to take me a little bit of a delay to get back to you. It might be 7 o'clock at night, but we'll still make it happen.
Yeah.
And then it's my team. My number one rule in the office is pick up the phone.
Yep.
If we pick up the phone, we win.
Yep. I love that.
I think that's small business 101 for me is just pick up the phone, be responsive. smile more, and then life is good, right? So we talked about adapting social, Breaking Barriers pod. Tell me, get into the pod. Why did you start it? What's your goal, and where are you taking it next?
Yeah, so I started it 2016 or 2017. I can't remember. Actually this year's our 5-year anniversary. So
nice.
Whatever that is.
And how many episodes is that about?
We have a lot. I think it's like 300-400, something like that.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. But I didn't want to do it in the beginning.
Okay.
So at the time, my social media manager was like, we need to get on like podcast content. And one of the things that I typically do, so like part of our biz dev leg of adapting social, is we come in and we help businesses be more profitable, right? So anyway, so at the time I was working and I was younger, it was, again, 5 years ago. So it was like mid-20s. And I was coaching some of these businesses on more profitability, right? Because they were like, okay, I have business coming in, I'm making good money, but I'm not like netting enough.
Right.
So I'm in there, I'm having those conversations. My team hears it, and my social media manager's like, dude, you need to do a podcast. It's like, you know a lot, you have a lot of experience, like you need to do this. And I was like, no, people only go on podcasts for Joe Rogan. Like nobody gives a fuck about John Vagueiro and what I want to say. And so anyway, the way I'm a big salesperson too. I love sales. So it was like the only way I agreed to do it. I was like, my contingency is I want to interview small business owners that I could potentially get as clients. Sure. I was like, that's the only way I'll do it, because then there's synergy. I'm talking about business stuff. They're talking about their business. We're promoting them, blah, blah, blah. And that was the catalyst for it, right? So it started off where I was like, this is going to be a way for me to unsolicit, but solicit, right?
That's the number one reason people start podcasts nowadays.
Well, for businesses,
For businesses, right?
As they should, though.
And it works great whether you're soliciting or not. Like, it's still a great medium, and every small business owner wants their chance to be on camera also.
Totally.
So, we were a guest recently on a landscapers podcast out of North Jersey, helping talk about mitigating risk and reducing costs and stuff like that.
Right.
When it comes to insurance and how other landscape businesses should operate in that risk space, and how they can save money and have better drivers and better employees and all that stuff. But then he'll be a guest on my podcast, and guess what? He's also a prospect. Yeah. But now we're friends.
Right.
Now we have a different conversation.
Right.
Right. And we haven't approached the conversation of, hey, when do I get a chance to look at your stuff? It'll just naturally happen. So the same reason, that's half of why I like to do what I do, is to interview cool people. The other half is when I have professionals like you, lawyers, accountants. I get so much free advice.
Totally.
Like
that's a huge thing.
We get thousands of dollars worth of advice. Yeah. And we're giving out thousands of dollars worth of information right now.
100%.
It's phenomenal that you get to do all this for free.
There was a lady that I had on my podcast recently. She's a genius. She's a doctor, but she talks about like burnout and like all these different ways to like, essentially like in our world as an entrepreneur, right? Or even as a team member or an employee, like if you're Tom Brady, right? Or like you're like, whoever you are as a professional athlete, you have to like fuel your body and eat the right things, sleep the right way, rest the right way, get in a cold bath after working out. There's so much that they do to perform the highest levels. Right. People like you and I, we're not pushed, or nobody's training us. So we're not like, okay, go take an ice bath or go work out or go do whatever.
Tequila.
Fuel your body. Right. In my case, whiskey. So literally, anyways, this doctor charges, she's a whole team now, but she charges $150,000 to come into your organization and get your team to think that way, which was like, wow, that's a fuck ton. So I was like, let me just have her on the podcast. So I got that. I was going to get the full thing. Right. But to your point, like that's the benefit. So for people out there who are like on the edge, like, oh, like, do I do a podcast? Do I not do a podcast? I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, you can get clients from it. You can get in front of, if you're a B2C company, right? We're both B2B, right? Are you B2B or B2C?
I'm both.
Okay. Yeah. So you have both, but either way, you can get people on your pod and expose yourself. And ultimately, like, it's definitely valuable. But that's the only reason why I did it. And then the mission, do you want to go into the mission part? Do it. So the only thing with, so anyway, so my social media manager convinced me, I did it. And then the mission, what changed for me was I got to interview these entrepreneurs and hear some crazy stories. Okay. Like crazy stories. And I was like, wow. So not only am I learning, I'm also learning avoiding techniques to not go through bankruptcy like some of these people did. Right. Or failure the way these people did. And so that's the thing. At Breaking Barriers, it's about, everybody has their own limiting beliefs in their life about what they can achieve, what they can't achieve. And they also have really tough stories that have really either propelled them or kept them in this barrier that they're locked into. Right. And so, you know, we've had really big celebrities to big, you know, entrepreneurs like Grant Cardone on the podcast.
I saw that.
And one of the things that we'd like to talk about is not just the sexy shit of being an entrepreneur, right? Like rolling up in nice cars or like having money or having nice watches. It's like, how did you get here? Right. What was some really tough stuff? And just as an example, and we go fucking deep. Like one of the things that I had with the most recent guest who went bankrupt, she wound up leaving Silicon Valley, huge like tech person in the West Coast, left, relocated her family and her like cousins, aunts. Like she had over 30 people who left with her from like Cali, followed her because she was that successful, moved to I believe it was like Colorado, right, and bought a business out there that was a really successful business that she wrote a $5 million check for, wound up being smoking mirrors. So they doctored the books, everything was fake, gave them the check, and the person disappeared. And so her whole family, picture that, 20 plus people, you know, move to follow her.
Right.
On her, she called it her food line.
Right.
And then she had nothing. And she went from being an ultra successful, making over $1 million a year in Silicon Valley, moving here. She went to being a minimum wage, making $5 an hour at the time, being a bingo caller.
Wow.
And now wound up restarting her entrepreneurship stuff again. Now she's in this place with senior citizens. Now she's doing some sort of advisory for insurance for senior citizens.
Perfect.
And she's blowing up again. Great story, but that's my point. It's like breaking barriers about the real shit. So like she talked about bankruptcy, talked about all the shit. She got a divorce because of it.
Right.
Like real tough shit.
Right.
So anyway, that's what it's about. You can learn lessons from other people's problems because I think that I'm a big
forward.
Yeah, fucking what's it called? Stoic philosophy person. And the one quote that made me think about this for breaking barriers was, any fool can learn from their own mistakes.
Right.
It takes a wise man to learn from somebody else's. That's breaking barriers.
I get the Ryan Holiday email every morning, too.
Oh, my God. I love Ryan Holiday. Yeah.
Daily Stoic,
Daily
I think it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I definitely get that email. All right, so there's one more thing that I wanted to push on. There's one more thing. People that are watching this are really interested in, like, how do I start my own media company? Somebody told me once I was good at Instagram and Facebook, and now I should be a social media manager and have my own business.
Yep.
Which is not that easy, for one.
No. Nope.
I know it. I live it. But, you know, so what is the advice if somebody really wants to dive in and get into the media game? Because we have, you know, the millennial generation coming up, and they all grew up on Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
They don't know what Friendster is. They don't know what MySpace is, but they're living in this TikTok era.
Yeah.
And now they're all becoming influencers because they, you know, wear a bikini and got people to follow them.
Right.
But when they go into
Sex
that
sells.
phase of starting their own media company, you know, what's the advice? What should they be learning, and how should they be presenting themselves to then gain clients and build a business like yours, or get involved in something like what you do?
Yeah. I think the one thing I tell people, this is one of the hardest times to do that.
I believe it.
And the one thing I say for any business, especially this business, is if you're in a service-based business like this, you have to ask yourself, what are you willing to give up and sacrifice from your own time? So in our world, right, which I love because I've been able to figure out how to effectively get results.
Right.
When you're in the early phases of starting this business, even if you've done it a little bit yourself, it's very different when you're spending $1 million of somebody's money, or even $10,000 of somebody's money, or even $5,000 or $1,000.
Right.
The smallest clients want the most out of you. So, right.
That goes across industries.
That's everything, right?
That's everything.
That's everything. So, because in this space, so I always like to say, and I'm not saying this to deter anybody, but what I'm saying this for is like, you need to know what you're getting into, right? Like right now, Adapting Social, we're in the process of acquiring another agency, right? Cool. And this guy's been in the business, I think he started it in like 19, before social media.
Okay.
So it's like, it was an ad agency that then conformed and then whatever. But he's like, yeah, I'm over it. I'm done with the whole fucking crazy shit. But with this world, the one thing I always like to just tell people, right? I think you should know what you're getting into, is that when you're managing people's money or their reputations online and you fuck something up, because it will happen.
Right. Be
ready for the bull in the china shop, because it is not fun, right? And when you have a couple of those clients, right? And then you start to have a team, because this is the thing, leadership and scaling a company is performance through others, not you. Right. So you're only as good as your team.
Sure.
Right. If your team sucks, you suck. So the whole thing is, at the end of the day, when you start to scale that business, if they're not performing, then you're not performing, and then everyone hates you, right? ultimately, so, you know, it's keeping that in mind, right? So that's the one thing. And the time, right? Because on the weekends, entrepreneurs, you're answering emails at 3 a.m. Whoever you're doing social media with you, I feel bad for that person, right? So at the end of the day, right, it's like those types of people like exist. And so like you have to deal with those people. So anyway, that's just the forewarning, right? But what do you need to do, right? My whole thing is you need to work for free for your first 6 months to a year. Get clients, build up a base of at least 15 to 20 clients that are literally not paying you $1, that you're just doing their shit for free, right? And if you're valuable enough, this is what I did, right? If you're valuable enough, they will give you an opportunity, they'll pay you, right?
I like that.
That's the only advice I'm going to give today.
Right.
Because if you can do that, right? Because people are like, oh, I need to make money. We have kids now coming out of college, and it's fucking funny, right? How insane that they don't understand the world, right? We have this Gen Z, you know, and again, I'm millennial, and, you know, but like Gen Z, they're coming out of college, and they're like, I want 100K. And I'm like, you're fucking funny, right? I would come out and say that, fucking funny. And it's like they have no worldly experience or no actual practitioner, but they want all this money. And the problem is, though, is that the colleges are fucking amping them up on this.
Oh, yeah, big time.
And they're like, oh, you can leave here, you know, make 100K, whatever, and they're coming, and they don't have 50K worth of experience to provide me.
Right.
What the fuck you think you're getting 100K from?
Right.
So anyway, a lot of times people, especially the younger generation, they don't want to go work for free because they're like, I deserve more. I should get more. You have to build that worth. Right. So, and that's to any fucking industry, but like especially this industry because it's so crowded. Right. I was lucky enough to start when I did and blessed enough to start when I did that, like, I believe when a business is in a business long enough people know you, and if you have enough impact, business can come your way. We have business coming from multiple countries regularly to us. Like, I don't need to be spending $70K a month on ads, but we're gonna be one of the biggest companies, not just marketing agencies in New Jersey. Like we're gonna be a staple in New Jersey for innovation. Like, that's the goal, right? So the whole thing though is like ultimately like it's understanding that like if you're gonna really be different, right? Outside of knowing a couple friends and family, because obviously that helps everybody in the beginning. It's doing shit for free. And I remember, and it's funny because obviously we got Jason back here, and now I have a media division of my company. Right. But early days, I remember I went to Best Buy. My grandma, you know, who was my bookkeeper and shit in the early days too, she helped me get a Best Buy credit card that she, you know, co-signed with me on. And we got my first computer and my first like camera. Because I was like, if I'm gonna make websites, these people never have pictures. Right. I was out there taking pictures and shit. And for even media people, right? It's like we always want, when we think about like, and Instagram taints this for us because we see everyone doing all this great stuff. But, you know, for a while I had to go out there and take pictures, do all this shit for free. And then if people were like, hey, I'm not going to continue to pay you or whatever, I'm like, okay, no problem. I didn't add value. We didn't add value. I move on to the next person. Right. And then boom, now again, it's like, so my point is that it's build your worth, build a portfolio first. Right. And then start to see what you can do in the marketplace. Right. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of giving it away for free. Like even on the insurance stuff, risk management, you know, we have a client who needed some help. So I helped him for a year on some claims management and some other ideas. You know, I communicate with his current insurance company as his manager. Yeah. You know, so I don't mind giving it away. I love giving it away because I'm going to, just like you said, I'm going to prove my worth to different prospects. Right. And then guess what they're going to do? They're going to talk about it. Totally. And then it comes back full circle. So everything that I do, I have no secrets. And I love when people come to me, oh, I have the best idea. Just can't tell you about it yet.
They're like, come on.
Oh, good for you. Let me know when you're ready to talk about it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You have no secret.
Yeah.
There's nothing to hide. Come on. And, you know, if it's so great, go do it. Yeah. Right? If it's not that good, that's okay too. But we can talk about it and hash through it and see if we can make it better and develop it. Like, I'm not going to steal it. I'm busy enough. You know, I don't need to steal anybody else's ideas. I don't need to do anybody else's job. Right. You know, I need to do what I need to do, and that's sit here, create content, sell some insurance, hang out with cool people like Johnny V. Yep. And listen, man, thanks for coming by. And by the way, this is the And Insurance Podcast, and I don't even know if I talked about insurance, but we got into some risk management. We talked about some things. If you are going into the media game and you want to start a business, you know, don't get yourself in trouble. Don't steal stuff. You know, have that media liability for yourself. And that also presents yourself as a professional if you have proper insurance backing you up for if in case something goes awry, something hits the fan. And, you know, the more original content that you can use and create, the better off you're going to be as opposed to buying things off the good old internet. So thanks again for joining me, and can't wait till the next one.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Got it.